Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Hilltopper Toastmasters. I am your Toastmaster for the evening, Olivia Carter, and I would like to welcome you all, fellow Toastmasters, to our meeting this evening. Before we go, sorry, let's start with our invocation and pledge, please. Do we have an invocation?
Uh,
Anybody have a famous
we
quote?
did we did the pledge.
Oh, we just did I'm sorry, we just did the pledge. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm doing too much at one time. I'm actually still at work on the other computer here. I apologize. Cancel the recording. Let's start over. No, we're good. Good evening, everyone. Let's move into our roles for this evening. And first, my role is as Toastmaster is I kind of move the meeting along through its main portions or sections, which is first our prepared speeches. Secondly, is our portion where everyone is allowed to participate and encouraged to participate. And then that is our table topics portion of the meeting. And then third is our evaluation portion. Thank you all for those who have roles for this evening, and I would like to discuss those roles. Please, so if we could, I would like to speak to our speech evaluator for the evening. We do have a prepared speech, and our speech evaluator for the evening is David. David, can you tell us a little bit about your role this evening, please?
For Olivia. Hi, everyone. Tonight I will be evaluating Bethany's speech. As evaluator, I'll be giving feedback and not so much in the role of an evaluator is not to give advice, but to just give what I observe. So that's going to be my role, and I'm looking forward to hearing her speech. And thank you, and back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, David. Next, let's talk to our general evaluator, Donovan. Would you tell us a little bit about your role this evening?
Yes, so my role this evening is the general evaluator. The general evaluator is basically keeping track of the meeting as a whole. So an example would be when we start the meeting, when if we have a recess and the end of the meeting. And then my other one, the other part of the general evaluator function is to call up on my evaluation team. The evaluation team consists of the first evaluator, the timer, the all counter and grammarian. And then there was a final overview of the meeting as a whole at the end for the general evaluator. That's the role for the general evaluator. Back to Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, Donovan. Let's talk to our timer, Maurice.
Yes. As a timer, I will time the prepared speech, the table topics, and the speech evaluation. And for the prepared speech, which is 5 to 7 minutes, at 5 minutes, you will see green screen. At 6 minutes, you'll see yellow screen. And at 7 minutes, you'll see red. And then for the table topics, at 1 minute, you'll see the green. At 1 minute 30, you'll see the yellow. And at 2 minutes, you'll see the red. And then for the speech evaluation, you'll see green at 2 minutes, yellow at 2.5 minutes, and red at 3 minutes. And that is my role as the timer for this evening. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much. And I have Well, before we go into that, let's talk to our toast table topic master, Kayla.
Thank you, Olivia. For my role as the table topics master, I will be asking questions on certain topics of my choosing, hopefully interesting topics, so that everyone has a chance to respond back with short, impromptu answers and give everyone a chance to speak for the evening. And that is my role for tonight. Back to you, Olivia.
Thank you very much, Caleb. And I have the pleasure of being the all-counter and grammarian, and also taking a tally of the use of the word of the day. As the all-counter, I will be listening for filler words during the prepared speech, during the table topics portion, and during the speech evaluation. I will give a record or a tally of those filler words at the end. Filler words, just as a reminder, includes words like am, so, like, or those times when we could take a natural pause as we gather our thoughts or move from one thought to the next. The word of the day is fortitude, and it is defined as courage in pain or adversity. And I will just quickly read what we have here in the chat as soon as my chat box shows up. And a definition for fortitude, it is a noun, and courage in pain or adversity. She endured her illness with great fortitude. The theme for this evening's meeting is career growth. Career growth. That seems to be it. Oh, yeah. So for use of the word of the day, try to use the word fortitude whenever you are at the lectern, whether it be for your prepared speech, table topic speech, or during the evaluation portion. Try to use the word of the day, fortitude. That is it for my roles as all-counter, grammarian, and word of the day. And now, as my role with Toastmaster, I have the pleasure of calling to the lectern our prepared speech for the evening, and it's coming to us from Bethany Jackson. And Bethany's speech is entitled Dispelling the Myths of Modern Day Psychology. Bethany, is your speech 5 to 7 minutes?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
I picked up this nasty habit of saying just or just various filler words since I've been around my friends and whatnot recently. So I'm really trying to get that under wraps.
Okay. I think you do a marvelous job every time you speak. So I'm excited to hear your speech. And if our timer is ready and you are ready, you can move in to take the lectern. It's all yours.
Hi, everyone. My name is Bethany Jackson, and I am a third-year medical student, as most of you guys know. I recently came back from my psychiatry rotation where I had the pleasure of working with various people in the psychiatric inpatient hospital. To be honest, I was a bit nervous about starting this rotation because of all the various bad things we hear about psychiatric hospitals. And I believe that most of these stem from the various media representations of psychiatry. When we think of a psychiatric hospital, we think of the absolute worst place imaginable. We may conjure up images of horror movies such as The Shining or Silence of the Lambs or Psycho, where whenever we think of people receiving treatments, they end up being these various torturous methods used to suppress people's abilities to see themselves as humans. And I really want to dispel this myth, which I unfortunately was not immune to, even though I am in the health professions field. I want to really emphasize the reason why we have these various tropes in media and why the history of psychiatry very much is the reason why these various stigmas exist to this day. Whenever we think of the various primitive actions taken on upon various people back in the day, the 1800s or 1900s, we think of these torturous devices such as primitive shock therapy. We thought of also how people were affected by lobotomies or even bloodletting. These events were because people did not really know what caused these psychiatric illnesses. People at the time thought maybe the supernatural had a reason why these things happened, where people thought maybe it was evil spirits or maybe it was demons or even astronomy. As in, whenever we think of the word, even though this is a very antiquated and word that we usually don't use as much, the word lunatic, that literally comes from the word based on the astronomy of the moon, where people would go crazy, which I honestly don't like that word, crazy, but they would have these different various events happen based off of the supernatural events. I really want to emphasize that at the time, we did not have any technological advances to really target mental illness. So barbaric measures were used to ostracize these people from modern day societies at the time and to keep them locked up, which were honestly very bad things that were happening at the time. During the 1950s, there was this new invention called the antipsychotic drugs. These drugs pretty much changed the game for psychiatry. We are absolutely able to treat mental illness itself rather than throwing everything but the kitchen sink at these various illnesses. Just as somebody could go into the hospital with a broken arm and receive a treatment, people can go to the psychiatrist and be able to have a antipsychotic or various different types of medicines to directly treat these illnesses rather than to stigmatize and dehumanize people. At the time in the 1950s, we also saw this emergence of the rebirth of psychiatry as a field of medicine rather than a tool of causing harm to people. We were able to have psychiatry be part of the medical model where different psychiatric illnesses were used to support evidence-based practices, where various scientific data and research supported the treatments that were used rather than using pseudoscience and fake beliefs. I think it's very important to realize how much psychiatry has changed over the years compared to the various actions that were inflicted upon people. I want to emphasize the importance of understanding how we can make moves now to dispel the stigmas associated with psychiatry and to make moves to improve the health and well-being of others. During this day, we see more of a humanistic approach to how psychiatric illnesses are portrayed in the media. In fact, we have celebrities such as Lady Gaga, Selena Gomez, or even Ryan Reynolds, who are very much open and candid about their struggles with mental health and their abilities to receive treatment. By having more people speak up and speak out about their various conditions, we're able to dispel the myths and also the misinformation associated which is why people are afraid to receive help and to seek treatment. Also, we have various technological advances such as telehealth, where people are able to see a psychiatrist in pretty much any part of the United States and be able to not have any geographical barriers as another issue for causing barriers in the treatment of mental illness. In addition, I want to showcase how even primary care has taken upon itself the responsibilities of screening for mental health and also being able to direct people to treatments as needed. I think it's honestly amazing how much psychiatry has changed along the years. I personally am amazed by the various treatments that are out there and how people who no longer have to be confined to four walls are able to be part of general society and have healthy and productive lives. I think that people of today really should take it upon themselves to understand mental health for what it is, to understand the facts, and also understand why the stigma existed in the first place. By being able to understand the history of psychiatry, we as healthcare professionals, people in general, and also people living with mental illnesses can also realize the importance of psychiatry and the importance of protecting people's mental health. And that concludes my speech.
Bravo. Very good speech. And I must admit that I agree. Psychology was always my major from the time I was about 15 years old. I knew exactly what I wanted to do. And then I watched the movie Sybil. Do you guys remember that movie? Do you remember that movie Sybil? Nobody remembers that? No? Oh my goodness, you'll have to see it. And it was about the lady who had, I think, over 40 personalities. She had, at the time, it was just called multiple personality disorder. And we've kind of changed the name a little bit now, but and I was thinking, oh dear God, do I really want to get into this field? And yeah, there is a huge stigma around mental health and people who suffer with mental health illnesses, defects, diseases, whatever you want to call it. So thank you, Bethany, for keeping the reality in the forefront of what mental health is and how many people can be just normal people that struggle with various forms of it. I will move on into our next portion, which is our portion where everyone has an opportunity, hopefully, to participate or is encouraged to participate, and that is our table topics portion. I'll just remind everyone that our word of the day is fortitude, and our theme is career growth. At this time, I would like to pass the lectern over to our table topics master, which is Caleb. Caleb, on you.
Thank you, Olivia. In order to keep to the theme of career growth and to incorporate the word of the day for the first question, and so I actually remember to use the word of the day. What gives you the fortitude to maintain your career growth? I suppose another way of saying that is, what lets you get out of bed each morning to go to work and to try to strive for the best? Or if you no longer go to work, what gives you the fortitude to work on yourself or to grow as an individual? I think I saw Carrie raising her hand first.
Fortitude. The main reason I participate in this club, Toastmaster, is to compete a contest, speech contest. I tried 4 times. We have once a year, and this year was the 4th try. Sometimes I do, sometimes don't. And then, of course, when I didn't do well, actually, the judges didn't like me. Really hurt me. Especially sometimes I see the culture different, value different. Of course, English is second language. There are a lot of disadvantage, but I try to change this disadvantage to advantage. That's what I try to do. I stay with this idea. Fortitude. Definitely that's the fortitude. No matter what result, I try next year with great fortitude. Definitely I'll try next year again. Probably 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, until I get the world champion. That's the last time I try. Until I achieve this goal, I try with the great fortitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie. My next statement will be, I cannot lose my list. For your career path, and I think trying to strive for world championship is an excellent goal. I wanted to mention before I moved on. For your career path, what makes you unique? What do you think that you bring to the table for your career that no one else brings? And that is my next question. Donovan's raising his hand.
Yes. Thank you, Caleb. The question is that I've been given is what, through my career choices, what do I bring that is unique? One thing that I could think of being unique is that I have an intellectual disability. Some people might think that people with disabilities aren't someone who might be very successful. They might be able to go through what want to piggyback on what Bethany talked about. That's one of the things that happens to some people who have intellectual or physical and physical disabilities, which is pretty sad to think about. To me, I don't see that as a bad thing. I see it as a good thing of having a disability because it gives you strengths and a whole host of skills that you have. One job I'm actually doing right now is working in a breakfast restaurant, and it's pretty fun for me to do that because I can relate to the customers and all that stuff. I can help by greeting them, but also cleaning tables. That's my main job. So, so my answer was that my uniqueness is because I have a disability. Back to you.
Thank you, Donovan. Your answer, not only powerful, feeds directly into the next question I want to ask, which, to preface this question, I want to read out a quote by someone by the name of Friedrich Nietzsche, who some of you might be familiar with, that I believe is on this topic. And my question is, what are your thoughts on this quote and whether or not you think it's accurate? Or after hearing the quote, do you think Nietzsche was full of it and would rather not take any of what he says into account? The quote is, "To those human beings who are of any concern to me, I wish suffering, desolation, sickness, ill treatment, and indignities. I wish they could not remain unfamiliar with profound self-contempt, the torture of self-mistrust, or the wretchedness of the vanquished. I have no pity for them, because I wish them the only thing that can prove today whether one is worthy of anything or not, that one endures."
Would you read it one more time and then I'll give it a try?
Sure, let me actually copy and paste it into the chat as well. Whoops. The quote was, "To those human beings who are of any concern to me, I wish suffering, desolation, sickness, ill treatment, and indignities. I wish that they should not remain unfamiliar with profound self-contempt, the torture of self-mistrust, or the wretchedness of the vanquished. I have no pity for them because I wish them to the only thing that can prove today whether one is worth anything or not, that one endures."
Thank you, Caleb. I'll give it a try. So that is a very interesting quote. It covers quite a bit. And the one thing it ends with, that one endures, I think is very important because we all go through so much in life. I mean, everyone suffers, everyone has hardships. We all do, from the richest person to the poorest person, or the smartest person to the least smart. It doesn't matter. Or someone born into a great circumstances or bad circumstances. We all suffer at times. And so that one endures is the ultimate goal here. We want to preserve and continue on. I'm a little confused by some of the quote. I don't wish suffering on anyone. And even if someone's hurt me, I don't want them to feel suffering, except that one thing which I'll share, I've been in therapy before in my life, and the one thing that my therapist told me that stood out, one of the things she said that stood out the most was, she said that it didn't bother her if she said things that hurt people, if she said things that gave people pain, because the only way to clarity, the only way to really get to our ultimate destinations is to work through our pain. You know, we've always had, or we all have things that have happened to us. And if we don't address those, then we'll never be complete human beings. In addressing those things takes working through pain. It takes listening to things that are difficult to hear. So she said, and that's, you know, she doesn't want to hurt people, but if she does hurt people by what she says, that's part of the growing process. And maybe that's kind of what Nietzsche was trying to say there. I'm not quite sure, but that's a really interesting topic. And thank you for the question. Back to you.
Thank you, David. And thank you for your answer. It is a really interesting quote because if Nietzsche is saying this about his friends, you can only imagine what he's saying about his enemies. But I believe, as you were saying, is you're right. There's sometimes you have to be hurt to grow from that. Not always. Not everything that hurts you does a bit of good, but it was an interesting quote and I thought fit into the theme with the evening. My next question is, what within you gives you that fortitude? Right, because everyone needs some sort of anchor or some sort of source of strength. My question is, what is that anchor for you? Maurice?
All right. Fellow Toastmasters and honored guests, what gives me the anchor of fortitude, or what motivates me? One thing is, in Toastmasters, for example, just going through a speech and having a task to do table topics. In some ways, it helps me to improve my fortitude and brain processing power, if I want to say that. But Toastmasters, will put you in a position where you have to draw fortitude. If you don't have fortitude, that's if you decide to do the work that Toastmasters would require one to do. And there are different types of tasks that I look forward to that will help exude fortitude out of me. And some things that I don't necessarily want to do that I may have to do that may help exude fortitude out of me. Back to you, Topics Master.
Thank you, Maurice. How are we on time? Or
We need to move on.
okay. Well, I will give up my role as table topics master for the evening and hand the lectern back over to our Toastmaster tonight, which is Olivia.
Thank you very much, Caleb, for your role as Table Topics Master, and thank you all for those that were at the opportunity and the fortitude to provide and answer your questions. Were very thought-provoking, and enjoyed hearing the responses. We're moving into our third and final portion of the meeting, and that is the evaluation portion. So I will turn the lectern over to our general evaluator, which will take us through all of the roles for this evening. General evaluator Donovan, the lectern is yours.
Thank you, Olivia. First, before I continue, I just want to say that all these table topics did depict a lot of fortitude in all of us, of opening up and also learning something new. By that, I'd like to say that the meeting went well. Right now it's 7:28. We had a 5 or 10-minute recess till probably 6:50. So it'll be like 10 minutes maybe. And so other than that, right now I'm gonna go ahead and relinquish the lectern to the first evaluator for Bethany's speech. David, will you please give your evaluation?
Sure. Thank you, Donovan. Good evening again, everyone. And first, I would say, I'm not sure I should say Bethany showed a lot of fortitude, since the definition of fortitude is courage in pain or adversity. But I know that Bethany showed a lot of courage in giving this speech. And one thing, the definition of courage, I was a little confused on until Brene Brown, I listened to her TED Talk, and she explained that courage is not acting fearlessly, it's acting despite fear. And I think anytime any of us, there may be some exceptions, but pretty much all of us, when we give a speech, it's a scary thing to do. But when we get up and do it anyway, that's courage. And so thank you for the speech, Bethany. And it was very interesting. I actually put that you excelled at your knowledge of the topic and explaining it in a clear and interesting way. It is amazing that if we look in the past in psychiatry, how primitive and horrific it seems, like the idea of a lobotomy, that they're going to take an ice pick and stick it in their brain and just go back and forth to, and yeah, that changes your personality, but that probably wasn't the best idea. But and the way things have progressed are amazing. I might be a little controversial, but I'm going to say that I think in the very distant future, looking back on the way we even do things today will seem a lot, quite primitive. It's but that's neither here nor there. But moving on, like I said, I do think you definitely excelled at your knowledge of the topic. And also I want to say that I think from the very first time I saw you give a speech, you seemed much more relaxed and at ease. I think you're definitely getting more comfortable giving speeches, and that's great. What I have under also general comments, you may want to work on, I put vocal variety, and that's something that myself and a lot of people, probably most of us, it's just such a difficult thing but it's, and you had some in it, but it's good to have more, especially a topic like this that's so sensitive, like talking about lobotomies, like, oh my, they used to do this and that, and it's, but that's what I have for working on. For to challenge yourself, I put on a related note, you were very clear and precise, but in your speaking, but try showing more passion and emotions with these kind of sensitive topics is, and that's hard for me too, just let myself go and just say, get a little angry when I'm talking about maybe lobotomies or sad or whatnot. And that's just something to work on. And I won't go through all of the little things here, but you're very clear, and I think you had good eye contact. We're on Zoom, but you didn't seem to be looking at your notes a lot. You were looking at the camera, and gestures were pretty effective use of gesturing. Audience awareness was good, and like I say, you definitely seem more comfortable, and it was a very interesting topic. So that is my evaluation, and as usual, I ran long, but thank you, Bethany, and back to you, Mr. General Evaluator.
Donovan? Donovan, back to you, love.
Thank you. Sorry about that.
No problem.
The next person I'd like to relinquish that on is Maurice. Maurice, can you please give your Amos report, please?
Yes. For the timers report this evening, Bethany's prepared speech was 6 minutes and 54 seconds. Carrie's table topic was 1 minute and 34 seconds. Donovan's table topic was 2 minutes and 9 seconds. David's table topic was 1 minute and 56 seconds. My table topic was 1 minute and 30 seconds. And David's evaluation of Bethany's speech was 3 minutes and 33 seconds. And that is the timers report for this evening. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Maurice. The next person I'd like to relinquish the on is the all-countering grammarian. Olivia, will you please give your report for the evening, please?
Thank you, Donovan. Yes, I will start by giving the report for the use of the word of the day. Good job, everyone. I think I heard everyone say it at least one time. Caleb was twice, Kaori was 3, Maurice was 2, everyone else was once. Thank you very much for the use of the word of the day. Now we will move into the all counter, which was first evaluated by Bethany. Your all count or use of filler words was absolutely perfect. You used no filler words. For the table topics portion, Kaori, Donovan, David, and Maurice, all very good. 0 use of the word of the day. Same thing for the grammarian reports. I heard no misuse of the English language. I know I did not give the speech evaluation for you, Bethany, but I will add one thing to your evaluation as far as the use of as far as the filler words were concerned. I did notice that it seemed like you were rushing at times. You were kind of speeding up, and I think that was because you were trying to make sure you didn't use a filler word. And so that I could kind of tell that you're like, oh, she's rushing just a little bit. But luckily, this meeting is recorded and it'll be on the YouTube page in about an hour, if not in the morning, when Mauricia is done with it. And you will notice that at the end, when you're getting ready to do your summary, your whole entire speech changes. You become completely relaxed, you're totally in your element, and you start saying things like, I feel like, and I think, and I could tell that now you were kind of going off the script and you were talking just truly from how you feel about the topic, about the stigmas around mental health care or mental health care facilities. So if you get a chance, go back and take a look at it, and you'll see, oh, this is where you just took a deep breath. And I was hating that the summary was so short because I wanted to hear some more. So speech was very awesome, and I too agree with you in your feelings about that. That is it for the all counter, grammarian, and the word of the day. Back to you, Donovan, our general evaluator.
Thank you, Olivia. I just want to just say that it took gratitude from all of us for the speech and for all the evaluators as well. So other than that, by now it's 7:37. We are doing a good job right now. We had a good table topic session, good evaluations. And other than that, I have nothing else to report on. So other than that, I'll go ahead and relinquish the baton to the Toastmaster for the evening, which is Olivia.
Thank you, Donovan. And let's see, do we have an evaluation? I'm sorry, an education overview. If not, I will, the time is now 7:38, unless there is anything else to add, I will pass the lectern back to our president, Maurice.